We're going to complete the square to identify the coordinates of the vertex. So let's practice with the first question here. Y equals x squared plus 4x plus 1. If you have a graphing software such as Desmos, you can see that the vertex is -2, -3. The domain would be all real numbers, and the range would be y is greater than or equals to -3, including the endpoint. But let's try to do this, find this vertex, just by completing this square. And by the way, on Desmos, if we type in x equals -2, this is called the equation of line of symmetry. Notice how it cuts through the vertex. You could say x equals -2 is the equation of line of symmetry. So to complete the square, we're going to focus on this drumbeat combo. X squared x. This plus 1, we'll just push it to the side. Really focus on this part here. And we promise that that underlined part is going to be equivalent to what we're about to write here. The plus 1, if you really want to write plus 1, just leave it to the side. We promise that this underlined part is bracket, bracket. So just do brackets halfway through this line here. Make sure the line is a bit longer than previously. It's going to be squared. So the goal is to go from this general form to this completed square form. And here's a story. This is called the x squared x combo. All you're going to do is you're going to copy down, instead of x squared, you're going to take the square root of that, which is x. You're going to stare at that coefficient in front of the x, which is a plus 4. So instead of plus 4, we take half of it, which is plus 2. Take half of the number. If this was a minus 4, you would write -2, but right now it is positive, so keep it positive. But this bracket here is like your belly. It's too full. If you actually expand this out using FOIL, you'll realize that we're pretty close to x squared plus 4x, but there's always going to be a constant. The constant is going to be this last number squared. So this is your tummy. Would you like to eat a meal after finishing dinner? No, thank you. My tummy's full. You're going to subtract always, and it's going to be this number squared. So you're going to subtract 2 squared. So what's the answer? The answer is x plus 2 squared minus 4 plus 1 is -3. That's the answer. So -4 plus 1 is -3. So to reveal the vertex, all we're going to do is we're going to stare at the number beside the x, which is a +2. And the vertex v is going to be x comma y, which is the opposite of this number, which is -2. And then the y value remains the same. So this is the vertex, and we showed on Desmos. That was correct. So in general, we're going from this general form of a quadratic, which is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And we're going to rewrite it as y is equals to a x minus b squared plus c. So this is the completed square version, and notice how the a value here is 1. You don't have to write that. But bottom line is you reveal the vertex, which is b comma c. Notice how we switch the b value, the negative b becomes a positive b, whereas the c value remains the same. Okay, so all these other examples are going to be quite repetitive, so hopefully we can get the gist of this. Okay, so this b question here, you don't have to write +0, but you could think of the constant being 0. Really focus on the x squared x combo. We're going to make it a bit longer. We're going to be able to land our airplane. We set up our brackets, all squared. The square root of x squared is x. Instead of -2, we divide by 2, which is -1. This is your tummy. You ate too much. You need to subtract this number squared. 1 times 1 is just 1. You could write 1 squared. I'm not going to bother. So this is the completed square form. We're done. So the vertex is simply the opposite of the x, which is 1, and the y value stays the same, which is -1. That was fast. Let's try C. We're really going to focus on the x squared x combo. We're going to leave lots of room, and we're going to square something. This -2, you can just leave it on the side here. So notice how we're going to write x, and there's a hidden 1 here. What's half of 1? It's going to be 1/2. And we're going to subtract something squared. And that something is this constant 1/2. And the rest is just basic arithmetic. So the question is, what is negative 1/2 squared? This part here becomes negative 1/4. And what about the number negative 2? This becomes negative 8/4, which is the same thing as 2. So when you're subtracting twice, it gets smaller. This becomes negative 9/4. So the vertex is negative 1/2, comma, negative 9/4. Okay, so let's try completing the square when the a value is not 1. Suppose it's 2. Now, before you even begin to complete the square, it's important to factor out the a value such that you end up with a clean coefficient of 1. So this becomes 2 times x squared plus 4x. And the minus 3, I recommend just put it to the side. So perhaps square brackets would really show how strong these brackets are. We're going to really focus on completing the square on this part here. Okay, so remember that we haven't actually begun completing the square yet. So now we are. The completing the square occurs only when you play the drums. This is the x squared x combo. Everything else, you need lots of space. It's like you're an airplane pilot. You need lots of room to land the airplane. And we promise that this underlined part is equivalent to this underlined part here. How do you complete the square? You set up a bracket, you make it squared. You copy down x, which is the square root of x squared, plus 2. You take half of the coefficient, which is half of 4 is 2. Do not write 2x, just write the coefficient, the number only, minus this last number squared. 2 times 2 is 4. There you go, this is almost done. Basic algebra says you distribute the 2. This times this times this, and the minus 3 is just on the side. So y is equals to, just mindlessly copy the 2 in front of the x plus 2 squared. 2 times negative 4 is minus 8, minus 3. So we're just about done. Clearly, minus 3 minus 8. Minus 8 minus 3 is negative 11. And now you have it. This is the vertex form. So the vertex is negative 2, which is the opposite of the number beside x, comma, negative 11. So there were quite a few steps in this story. Just remember, you're not actually completing the square until you actually factor out the coefficient. And we're going to do it again 2 more times. Okay, question E. Let's repeat this process one more time. So before we even complete the square, we need to factor out the 3. So we have 3, just factor. Let's use big fat square brackets. X squared plus x, hold on, it's plus x over 3, because when you multiply, when you feed the dog, feed the cat, we want to regenerate this original E question. 3 times x over 3 becomes just x. And I recommend you just put the plus 1 on the side so you don't have to think too hard. This underlined part is the part you're going to complete the square on. So y is equals to 3. Leave lots of room. You want to be able to land your airplane on this runway. And we're going to complete the square here. Always go halfway. It's going to be x, because that's the square root of x squared. It's going to be a plus sign, because you see a plus sign up here. And instead of 1/3, which is the coefficient here, you're going to take half, which is 1/6. You're going to subtract this number squared, and you know what 1/6 squared is. It's going to be 1 over 36. So all we have to do now is feed the dog, feed the bird, distribution. 3x plus 1 over 6 squared. 3 times negative 1 over 36 becomes negative 1 over 12. Try it out. 3 times negative number becomes negative, and 3 times 1 becomes 3 on the top. 3 over 36 becomes 1 over 12, plus 1. And to save some time, I'm going to rewrite 1 as 12 over 12. I'm going to cross it out to save some time. 12 minus 1 is 11. So we have plus 11 over 12 is your final value here. So what does that mean? It means the vertex is the opposite of the number beside the x, which is negative 1, 6, and then the y value would be 11 over 12. So normally completing the square takes quite a few worksheets to get the hang of. I recommend you Google completing the square worksheet, perhaps Kuta software. But this is a nice playlist. Each and every single question here is slightly different. Let's do one more. Let's try f. So before we start doing anything, we should factor out the coefficient 2/3. So I'm going to say y is equals to 2/3 square bracket. We have x squared plus, and what I recommend you do is multiply by the reciprocal of 2/3, which is 3 over 2, and then just copy down what the term over here. The term we see is x over 2. Now, why would we do that? You know that 2/3, when you feed a dog and you feed a cat, 2/3 times the reciprocal becomes a 1. 1 times anything is itself. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to generate this term. The minus 3, just leave it to the side. And let's see if we can actually complete the square. So let's just clean this up a little bit. 2/3, we have x squared plus, this is going to be 3 over 4x minus 3. Underline the part that we're concentrating on, that we're going to actually complete the square on. So now we're actually beginning to complete the square. So we have y equals 2/3. We're going to leave lots of space, minus 3. You can land your private jet here. Completing the square is all about going halfway. X plus, what's half of 3/4? You could multiply the denominator by 2, which is 3 over 8 x. And be careful, don't write x. That was a mistake. I apologize. Focus on just writing the coefficient. And we're subtracting. We're going to subtract this number squared. What's 3/8 squared? It's 9 over 64. Now all we have to do is feed the dog and feed the cat. So y is equals to 2/3 x plus 3 over 8 squared. 2/3 times negative 9 over 64 is going to be a negative number. The answer is 3 over 32. So 2/3 times 9 over 64, I just simplified and reduced. So just try it yourself, try to figure it out, just to save time. And minus 3 is the same thing as 96 over 32. Try it out yourself. So if you cross this out, negative 3 minus 96, we get the final fraction, just simplifying this, negative 99 over 32. So there we have it. This is the nice vertex form of the parabola. And we're going to attack the vertex. The vertex is going to be the opposite of the x value, which is negative 3/8. And the y value remains the same. Okay, your turn. Try to finish these questions within 6 seconds.